Quick editor's note before we start for anyone who's not seen the community post. I think I figured out why people have been getting notifications for videos several days before they actually release. So hopefully this won't be an issue anymore. If it keeps happening, by all means let me know, but otherwise I apologize for any inconvenience my technical illiteracy may have caused, and now let's be on about our regularly scheduled business. Have you ever had one of those dreams that's so vivid, if not necessarily lucid, that it continues to stick with you for several days afterwards? Well, if you haven't, I'm about to describe for you an example. I was originally going to save this one for Halloween. But you know what? 2 weeks away is close enough for my family gatherings, so it's good enough for a YouTube upload that probably around 6 dozen people are going to watch if I'm lucky. Now for that reason, and also because my last several videos sprouted so many tangential branches as to make the quaking aspen Pando Grove jealous, I'm going to try to keep this one script as tight as possible. But if you're not completely new around here, you'll be aware that I'm roughly to page space management what modern politics is to sophisticated dialogue. Nevertheless, here goes my attempt. Essentially, imagine a survival horror game where you're the monster. It'd be like Ark Survival Evolved meets GTA 5 meets Monster Hunter meets Escape from Tarkov, minus all the shady BS and developer scandals, obviously. However, in keeping with nature's penultimate law of there being no such thing as free, players would also be forced to contend with those same creatures' many mythological, or when applicable realistic, limitations and weaknesses, some examples of which you've been seeing up on your screen. Now, if I'm being thoroughly honest, I thought I would have way more to say about this, but really the majority of the main mechanics are either well known or should be relatively easily deduced by anyone who's ever played a survival, horror, or RPG before. The vampires, for example, are basically ripped straight from modded Skyrim. The dinosaur gameplay will be familiar to anyone who's played titles such as Ark, The Isle, Path of Titans, etc. The Night Slasher, a legally distinct version of the Night Feeder from Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal, works much like Alex Mercer from Prototype, only somehow less edgy. And of course, the kaiju work exactly like they do in any other game featuring building-sized annihilators. I'm undecided on whether or not to include human factions, but whether player-controlled or otherwise, the humans would learn of and adapt to the presence of the monsters. Walking around with the holy symbols to ward off vampires, carrying fire to defend against the Night Stalker, stocking up on weapons to take down a kaiju, erecting barricades and building traps for dinosaurs, and so forth. If they were PCs, I imagine them playing something like a cross between a survival/hunting simulator and Escape from Tarkov. And of course, to stay in keeping with the horror element, the only information any player would have regarding the map, environment, or other players would be that which they themselves could gather, and each class and faction has different sensory capabilities, or provided by another player. Basically, think the spotting mechanics in large battle simulators like War Thunder, World of Tanks, and World of Warships. And as long as I'm on the subject, I would also take a page out of Minecraft's book and have the map be not only procedurally or perhaps community-generated, but instanced for each individual class in order to optimize data usage. My thinking being that a kaiju or theropod has no ability to enter buildings, so there's little or no point in rendering them any farther than to alert the latter to the presence of prey. Now that I think about it, perhaps an element of Valheim-style base building would also be in order, albeit with a twist, so as to keep the humans from being too overpowered. That twist being that what humans can build are limited not just by their materials, skills, surroundings, and so on, but also their level of cooperation and the advancement of local technology and industry. A medieval village, for example, wouldn't have the resources or know-how of a modern army base, and a lone human lost in the jungle wouldn't be physically capable of building a massive stone castle all by their lonesome, at least not before the resident T-Rex found and ate him alive. And on top of all that, certain structures are not merely ineffective against certain monsters, but are outright disadvantageous against others. Example, the previously mentioned barricade would do precisely nothing to impede a copyright-safe Godzilla clone or a hungry T-Rex. And unless they were being actively defended by people bestowed with silver and or fire, a werewolf, vampire, or night stalker would find only a convenient little basket of prey all neatly hemmed in for it. For an example of how I see all these elements coming together, simply pause and look over the model I've put up on your screen. Like I said, this was just some random spur of a concept that literally came to me in a dream. If anyone wants to use it or take it for their own purposes, be my guest. All the reference charts and pictures you've been seeing are up over on X. Beyond that, you all know the usual bit, I'm sure. Leave me a like and a sub, drop me a coin if you've one to spare, and consider becoming a member or checking out my books on Amazon if you want to sustain me in the slightly longer term. And in any event, until next time, stay safe, stay sane, and remember, life's too short to take seriously. Now, more than ever, may peace be upon you.